Welcome to Energy Matters to You, September 12th, 2017 edition. The Energy Matters to You podcast is a communication platform that features technologies and thought leaders working to advance energy efficiency. Today's podcast is brought to you with support from Northeast Efficiency Supply, NES. Energy efficient lighting made easy. NES offers lighting audit services, lighting retrofit design, and supply chain management. Northeast Efficiency Supply. We're your hosts. My name is Leo Ryan. I'm here with my co-host, Ron Galuli. Ron, how are you?
Good morning, Leo. I am doing well. And how about yourself?
All good here. Hey, Ron, there's National Grid has a vendor day coming up. Do you have that on your calendar?
I do. That is October 19th. That's Thursday, October 19th at the Gillette Stadium. And I haven't seen the full agenda yet, but they usually have some great breakout sessions, and it is very well attended. And they do a good job of getting end-use customers to that show. As you know, there's quite a few insiders that'll be there. But in general, in the past, it's been a great day, and I expect that will happen again this year.
Yeah, who are some of the folks that attend?
Mostly energy service type companies. I do know, for example, AZ Corp, they're a general contractor, specialty contractor. I think they'll be attending this year, so that's a new face that'll be in the sponsor crowd. There's control companies. Obviously, my guess is 50% of the sponsors and exhibitors are associated with some type of lighting, but we're seeing more and more data analytic type companies, control companies, companies of that nature.
Great. And your company, Leidos, you're going to be there. You're a sponsor, aren't you?
Leidos is a sponsor. We'll be there. I think we're sponsoring a scavenger hunt. So I think we're having a few prizes. So hopefully that'll add some entertainment to the show as well.
That's great. And again, what's the date on that?
That is October 19th, Gillette Stadium.
Outstanding. Well, Ron, you and I are both regular podcast listeners, and believe it or not, Energy Matters to You is not the only energy-focused podcast on the market.
Well, I would have to say that probably the leading podcast is from Green Tech Media, the Energy Gang, and I listen to them probably almost every week.
Yeah, that's Stephen Lacey, right?
That's correct. I think he's actually based in Boston now. I haven't bumped into him, but I think he's in Boston.
And he's got Catherine Hamilton as part of the panel. She's got a focus on policy. She's based in Washington. And Jigar Shah handles a lot of the technology-focused discussion. So I listen to that as well. It's a really well-done podcast.
Right. And I think Jigar does lead the utility bashing as well. So it can be pretty entertaining at times.
That's his role. Well, speaking of entertaining, we've got a good entertaining guest on today, someone I've known for close to 10 years now, John Hartnett, who's a SVP of Sales at Taylor Consulting, kind of a new gig for him. But before we bring John on, I just, talking about Taylor's focused on energy procurement, Ron, and that is a space, where you get your gas and electric from. It's complicated. And do you have any horror stories from your vast energy experience where facilities have made the wrong decision around energy procurement?
Well, I was with a mid-sized manufacturer this past summer, and he was beating himself up because he locked into a contract 2 or 3 years ago, I think at about 10 or 12 cents on the supply. And, I said, well, don't beat yourself up. That was the best supply at the time. You really didn't have the information available. You hadn't reached out and got any help to help you manage or navigating the supply contract world. And, I tried to calm him down and said, okay, you need to potentially look at different supplier options. There's index type contracts, there's fixed contracts, there's a blend of both. And I encouraged him to look at those different types of contracts so he could hedge and get the best price available going forward.
Yeah, right. Well, as I said, it's a complicated process. It's the right time, the right way to buy, when to negotiate, how to track the market. Those are all complicated elements, and it's a big part of in that case a manufacturing facility's budget to get the energy procurement right. So let's bring him on. John Hartnett, welcome to Energy Matters to You.
Good morning, guys. This is fantastic. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So, John, tell me, how did you get to Taylor Consulting?
You know, I think, Leo, you and I have been in the industry and worked together over the last 10 years or so. And I originally started out when the markets deregulated around 1999, working for a company called New Energy Ventures. And eventually that grew up into Constellation New Energy Retail. I had done some work with folks at Taylor back then, and then over the years, basically stayed in touch with them, and an opportunity presented itself to help Taylor grow its business after about 10 years to a next level, and came on in March of 2017 to help build out a new sales team and grow with the ever-changing challenges of this market. So we're a company that is growing and hiring and really excited about what the future holds.
Good to hear. You know, we're going to dig in a little bit more about Taylor specifically, but Ron and I kind of teased your arrival on the show with some, horror stories from the marketplace. Why don't you just give us a little background? You've been at this since 1999, so you've seen a lot of this. What's the problem in the marketplace? Why do facilities and companies have trouble buying energy, electricity, and gas? What are some of their challenges?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge that we see for businesses is really a marketplace of transparency. People inherently know energy and deregulated markets. They know who their utility provider is. And I think there's just a constant fear of, if I make a decision, does that affect how my power gets to my building? If I go with this person, what does that mean for the service that I get from the utility? And really, in a post-Enron world, which is what now, about 15 years past, we still have this fear that the decisions that we make have catastrophic consequences to them. And really, when we talk about financial markets, which this really is, people just tend to shy away from things that they don't 100% know. So it's really our job to try and educate and bring people through a process and really construct a story that allows people to feel comfortable about the decisions that they make. And that's a challenge, because really the number of people in the market that are constantly calling and talking to end-use customers is really abundant. So it's a crowded market, and it's a complex market, and those two events make it really challenging on the end-use customer.
John, you mentioned people wanting to get in a position where they've got 100% knowledge of what they need to know. And I think about how complex energy procurement is, and the relationship with the utilities, certainly since 99, has evolved. Can you just talk about the kinds of people, what staff position and what skill set do they have, and what skill set don't they have that's required in the energy markets specifically?
Sure. So I think, the thing that we've experienced over the years is that this is really a financial decision. And I think originally, when the markets deregulated, this was typically a decision that was made in the facilities department by a facilities manager, senior engineer of the company, people that really understood the consumption of power at that location. And then I think around 2008, that market switched. And it really was because the cost of energy had gotten so high. We saw that $140 barrel of oil and, $10 gas and everything else. And so when that financial decision went 2 or 3x, it was really brought up into the C-suite of a COO or a CFO to where this was a financial budget impact decision. Now, fast forward a few years later, it's really become sort of those two positions combined, facilities and engineering, along with whoever controls the budget and whoever is locking in the budget. So really, it's consensus building across those two divisions of the company.
Okay, very good. And so with that skill set, so you've got facilities and we get the CFO, the financial folks. Is there a battle between them in terms of what one wants versus what the other one needs relative to energy procurement?
Yeah, great question. I think, one of the things that we focus on is really trying to define what savings are. Energy is difficult in the sense that when you save money, it doesn't just necessarily go to a bucket or a dollar amount that you can pull out when you need it, right? Like other savings categories. Storing energy is very difficult. So when you think about it, it's really about cost avoidance. It's really about going through a process that defines your diligence, and really trying to find sustained process that overall makes you feel comfortable with how you're actually achieving your budget and the rates that you go on. So savings is a hard number because it's such a volatile market. We see that move where you can some months save 10, 15%, and other months you'd pay 3% or 4% above the market. So it's really gaining an understanding to, why you're buying this contract, why you're choosing this product, the timing that you're making your decision around, what its budget impact will be, and really where that sits in the organization on a timeline to how you're operating. And then that differs between your verticals. So commercial real estate is going to be different than industrial, and that's certainly going to be different than the retail market that we experience. So you have multiple different complexities in that decision process.
John, what percentage of customers actually look outside of the fixed contract or fixed price world? It seems to me that most of the customers that I bump into lock into fixed contracts. They don't realize what they're locking into and how it may vary over time. The pricing and, the potential drawbacks of that fixed contracts. Now, sometimes they hit it right and they're good for 2 or 3 years, but in a lot of cases, they may be overpaying based on, the fluctuations in the marketplace.
Sure. Well, I think, in my experience, this is probably the easiest industry to do a Monday morning quarterback on. Because it's so fluid and it trades every day, you can constantly compare your decision against something. And I look at this and we work with our customers to say, does strategy define your budget or does budget define your strategy? And we try and break that down. What we want to look at is how are you arriving at the rate that you're going to choose? So if you look at Massachusetts rates right now, we have some of the highest rates in the country. While energy is very inexpensive, the ancillary costs like capacity, renewable energy credits are very expensive. So while the people feel that the market's coming down, the costs are actually going up. And what we try and do is balance that into a product selection. So let me just kind of step back from that. If you were to buy a fixed price product today, what you're looking at is that your building is running efficiently, that your capacity levels or demand levels are in line with your usage, and that's how you're going to achieve a low rate. If you are going to put in some energy efficiency measures and you're going to go through a lighting upgrade or you're going to put in some solar, you want to structure your contract so that you're not buying 100% of your power now as you look to reduce your consumption over the next 1, 2, 3 years. So how you actually look at that forward planning of your usage and your consumption and your efficiency really will help drive the best rate and product that you're going to go on. So that's one component. The second component is just like other financial markets, past results don't create future what's the clause there? But, past results don't give you your future returns. And when we look at that, it's something that we want to focus on where, just because you are on a fixed price contract that didn't perform well last time, doesn't mean that's going to be the same result next time. If you're saving a lot of money on your current fixed price contract because the market's gone up, that means when your contract ends, you're coming into a higher priced market. So it's a real balancing act between how you go through it. And what we like to do is make sure that you're walking through and bidding all products and then doing a comparative analysis between those. And then once you understand the cost differentials, you're making a risk-adjusted decision with the most information possible. So there's a lot in there to kind of maybe discuss.
Well, that's great, John. Really good. And a nice segue, too, because, I've known you for a long time, and the fact that you've been in this marketplace since 1999, you've seen a lot of evolution. You started by saying that the space of energy procurement, gas and electric, is crowded, that there's a lot of vendors with an offering. So could you do two things for us? First, just give us an idea of the range of companies out there that offer procurement services. Do that for us. And then secondly, tell us why Taylor's different.
Absolutely. So we'll just concentrate on Massachusetts as an example. There's probably about 20 plus or minus third-party suppliers. Of those third-party suppliers, they're the ones offering products to end-use customers. Those 20 suppliers are probably made up of about 6 or 7 national suppliers and then a bunch of local regional suppliers. Those are the people that create our market. The next level down we would define as brokers or consultants, and there's really no other way to describe it between those two. And in that market, my guess is that there's probably plus or minus 40 to 50 brokers in the market.
Okay.
And these are the guys that are calling you and calling end-use customers, talking consistently about getting a better rate. And they make these claims of getting better rates without actually understanding your business. And so it really doesn't become that rate game. It really becomes about a process. So that's the sort of marketplace that the customers are dealing with. And really what differentiates Taylor from this is, one, we're a private company. So I feel that it's important that we build long-term success. I joked with a customer the other day that this is a marathon and we're just at the first mile. And he said, John, it's really become a triathlon and you're just at the running stage. So, this is a really long process that we go through where reputation, consistent delivery, customer references become very important to really, going through your decision process. But where Taylor started and what differentiates us in the market is that we started from a small customer base up. We started by building aggregations of small customers to take out to bid because we felt there was a gap in the market for these smaller groups and getting actual advisement work. The only way to serve that segment of the market was to build technology and platforms to acquire the data. So our platform of utility module interacts with all of the utilities across the country, but specifically in Massachusetts, to pull out and aggregate information in a platform that allows us to communicate with suppliers in a clear, scalable, and efficient way. So when we go to the market, we're presenting the suppliers with the most up-to-date, cleanest package of information that they can bid on, which allows us to actually have an effective line of communication with them that is proactively focused on price and opportunity, as opposed to, we need to get this letter of authorization. Is this the right account number? This account number dropped. What is the legal entity name? What is the credit entity name? Who are we going to go to? All of those things that go into it, we've streamlined that into a software package that gets uploaded from the utility and interacts with the suppliers that helps really limit the supplier fatigue in the pricing game that we go on. So that is the main differentiation. The second, and I think this is an old adage, it's really about service. There's no way to get around it. The human interaction, the people that sell you the service that we're going to go to provide you the service that we're going to go to. It's not handoffs down to an account management function or into this group or that group so that you start off the meeting with one person and end up with 6. We are very customer centric. We have basically a mantra of the answer is yes. We will get it done and we will work on your behalf. So a lot in there as well, but in an important question.
John, how do you go to market? You're selling a fairly complex service, a consultative service. more so than the transactional side of it. A lot of the customers we bump into, it seems like the suppliers are pretty transactional. As soon as they sign on the dotted line, they can't find their representative. So how do you go to market and educate the customers that the value of your service?
Yeah, I think this is a real changing of the guard of the industry right now. Direct sales people on cold calling and email and solicitations is a tough business. So we come at it from a two-pronged approach. We have, as I mentioned, a small, medium-sized business aggregation group that does a lot with all the different new technologies of online presence, social media, trying to be a thought leader, trying to get out and acquire customers through those type of different methodologies. We just came out with a mobile app that allows people to log on and grab energy data and eventually get into contracts. So we're trying to be more transactional on a smaller customer base that allows customers to kind of control their information process through online presence. But on the larger side and the medium, to bigger customer group, it really becomes about having a presence in the market and being in the market and being available to customers. And what I mean by that is, we're attending the trade shows, we're, doing events like this with the right people that are the right thought leaders in the market, where we're trying to, express views and have an opinion, because that's ultimately what the customer is paying for. It's your opinion of being in the market every single day, looking at data, because that's what our jobs become. So to go out and really understand the market and be present and be ready when those customers are ready is really the best way to describe it. There's not a silver bullet out there that says, we like to call up with this script and that gets us 10 phone calls back, and therefore, we're going to do this. It's really about being present for our customers and being thought leaders.
Right, perfect. Hey, John, right on that theme, tell me about when is it a good time for a customer to be in touch with you about their procurement needs, and then talk to us a little bit about that target customer. Who does John Hartnett work best with?
Well, I'll answer the second question first. We work best for customers that need centralization of information. If you have 5 retail stores in different markets, if you have multiple bills for gas, water, sewer, electric, and you having a problem understanding what they are, if you're looking for some type of need to transparency or competitive bid process, we define and check those boxes. So really anybody that I'll probably say spends $50,000 or more on power, maybe $100,000 or more on power annually, we basically will be able to leverage prices enough that there's true value of that process, or at least give peace of mind to that. But really, any small, medium-sized business and up that uses power in a deregulated market is who we're speaking with. The second part, the timing part, August, September, October is budget season, so that tends to be, our tax season. That tends to be when we're doing the most amount of work for year-end planning and really getting out in front of the budgets for next year, because it's a significant line item. But I would say that, right now, this is the first time in my career that I've seen people start looking at the 2020, 2021 market in 2017, because energy rates are so low versus their historic numbers. So market timing has really dictated when the right time to go is, as opposed to budget cycles. And really, that's where you can differentiate people, is that it's not a set it and forget it mentality where you're just in communication 6 months in advance of the end of your contract. You want to work with people that are looking at future markets and making sure that sustained price is achieved at the end of your contract.
Yeah, outstanding. Well, good, John, you've given us a lot to think about. I think that talking about moving the discussion from simply a rate-based discussion to understanding forward planning and a risk-adjusted selection of procurement contracts. It's really a smart way to think about it. If when folks are ready to get in touch with you, John, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Sure. Well, Taylor's website is just taylorcc.com, and we actually have a lot of information there, different enrollment forms. That's the best way to learn about the company itself. But as I said, we have to be available, and the best way to get a hold of me is just to call me on my phone, which is 617-429-9924. It's available to everybody at the various hours that we all keep. And I'll always make myself available on email, whatever it is. You could be one of my 47 followers, Leo. I gotta get that online presence up. But there's different methodologies there as well.
Outstanding. That's great. Well, John Hartnett, SVP of Taylor Consulting, I want to thank you very much for joining us on Energy Matters to You. We wish you all the best, and we'll be tracking Taylor Consulting, your progress over the coming months and years.
Thanks, guys. This is really fantastic, and look forward to hearing more of your podcast. It's been great information so far. That's
right. And you're a great guest. We have Damian Woodard on the line with us as well, who's the marketing analyst for Energy Matters to You. Damian, you want to give us a little update on the podcast and the site and followers and shows that are up?
Yeah. Speaking of the low-level followers, we just made our Twitter account, and we have a whopping 5 followers. So I'll be sure to plug that all over all of our websites that we have going. Hopefully, we're going to get weekly updates on there on different energy news and put in all of our podcasts that we've been working on. We just uploaded our podcast onto Google Play as well, so look out on there. And we're looking to sync up with SoundCloud this week. So lots of stuff happening. We'll see what happens.
That's great. So right now, iTunes is probably the best location for folks to download the Energy Matters to You podcast. Is that true, Damian?
Yep. We're 100% fully functional on iTunes as well.
That's great.
Damian, I just want to let you know you now have 6 followers.
Wow.
Hey, we got to start somewhere. Thanks, John, for being so quick on that.
Absolutely.
Well, once again, we'd like to thank this episode's sponsor, Northeast Efficiency Supply, with a deep understanding of utility efficiency programs, construction logistics, and manufacturing nuances. NES is the premier distributor for ESCOs and energy users alike. Thanks very much for joining us today. Energy Matters to You podcast can be accessed through the Podbean site or iTunes, as Damian just informed us. We always appreciate feedback, so feel free to reach out to Ron, myself, or Damian if you got any suggestions about future guests or topics. So for Energy Matters to You, this has been Leo Ryan and Ron Galuli. There's work to be done. Go make a difference.